If you're interested in Social Security, you're in the right place right now. We're going to be diving in this week in the show about Social Security, one of the most commonly talked about things for those approaching retirement and in retirement. Jen and I are going to start the show talking about the taxation of Social Security. There's a lot of talk about that in the news of is it going to be taxed or is it not going to be taxed? But where does it stand right now and what does that look like for you? Then Nick is going to join us and talk about how to maybe make those big purchases in retirement. What if you need a new vehicle? What if you want that fishing boat or something like that? What are some options of looking at how to do that so it doesn't derail your financial plan? Then we have a unique offer just for you. For those of you that watch our show, you're welcome to join our website and look at how you can download our free report to you about those golden years of retirement. Very informational and all free to you. Watch more to learn how to do that. And to wrap up the show, Joe is going to join us in talking about the new rules that are taking effect for inherited IRAs. If you've inherited some money from someone that had a 401k or IRA, you're going to want to tune into this and learn about some of those new rules that may affect those distributions for you now and in the future. All of this and so much more coming up right now on Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Welcome to another segment of Coffee Talk. John Torbett, Art Canfield. Just the exciting, thrilling topic of Social Security is what we're going to be diving into next. I mean, that seems to be something as we have conversations with people just like you coming into the office here in Traverse City to talk about when should I draw Social Security? How long is it going to last is one of the questions. But one of the topics that we'll dive into here in a little bit is what about taxation on Social Security? I know it's one that it seems like a lot of people don't really think about that too much.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a piece that's far overlooked. You know, Social Security's been in the news, obviously, with new administration talks about it. It's been talked about a long time. There's fear tactics out there of it running out. There's all these sort of things going on, and it's a huge source of income for most people in retirement that they've paid in for many years, so they want to get some return of that. And much of the focus is about maximizing, or how do I get more? When do I draw? All this sort of stuff. But you're exactly right, John. Like maybe the biggest money saving or money keeping in a way move is that taxation piece of it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'm sure just like you want to keep as much money in your pocket versus paying Uncle Sam. And so there's a very long, complicated equation that goes into this that will leave that up to the accountants and the professionals to dive into that. But you have to consider what those other taxable income sources are. So if you, as an example, have a pension that you're receiving income along with Social Security, you have to factor that in. What about if all of your retirement accounts are 401k or IRA and haven't been taxed yet? That's going to be part of this calculation. What if you have a part-time job and you have a little bit of earned income, wages, etc.? Again, that's going to be factored into this equation where the more income you have in those sources, more of your Social Security is going to end up taxable.
Absolutely. You know, if you are working through an income plan, retirement income plan, or haven't started yet, and your advisor or you haven't considered all of those things that John just talked about of when to take Social Security, you've missed the boat. You've flat not done proper planning, because when you look at when you should take Social Security, it has to factor in all those things. Otherwise, you are likely making the wrong decision of it mainly just boiling down to emotions of when to take it. Let me give you an example of kind of something that a person didn't see coming that kind of come to bite them with taxation on Social Security. Here, basically, in our Gaylord office, we were sitting down with a couple, had been longtime clients of Centennial Wealth here, great relationships, and they hadn't needed their money. They had their Social Security, they had very modest expenses, so they've been living off of that. They had a savings account, those sort of things, and they come to us and said, we want to help our children with a down payment on a house. So basically, they were looking to gift some money. Now, the only money that they had access to that was of the size they were looking for was out of their IRA. So untaxed to this point, and they was going to have to pay tax on that. Well, for several years, because they weren't of required minimum distribution age yet, they were enjoying basically no taxes on their Social Security, right? You know, with their income levels, we had done small Roth conversions along the way to kind of maximize that sweet spot. And then this gift they were looking to get was going to make it so their Social Security was all of a sudden taxable. So when we ran the numbers and talked about the cost of this, you know, we wanted to point out of what that was. Now, they chose to still gift the money to their children because that was their wish, but it ended up costing them significantly more in taxes than they originally thought, because now their Social Security was taxable when originally it wasn't.
Yeah, and so a lot of people find themselves in that position where they haven't really thought about, hey, what am I going to do if this situation occurs? And that's really generous of them to be gifting funds and everything. But that's where at Centennial Wealth Advisory we have a tax team that ultimately looks at things, as Art referenced, trying to look at how to best utilize these taxable assets over time and potentially transition them over to tax-free assets. And so again, it's one where that needs to be an annualized plan that you should be looking at year in and year out. And so often we hear from folks that come into our office for the first time where, well, my advisor told me to go talk to an accountant about that. And no, you know, it's one where there isn't necessarily that team aspect where the accountant and the advisor are working together in tandem to try and produce the best outcome for you. So if you find yourself in a position where you don't have that team and you want to make sure that you're keeping as much money in your pocket versus Uncle Sam, we welcome you to give us a call here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, where we are hoping to help you plan to retire well.
You've worked hard. Plan to retire well. The success of your retirement depends on a sound plan. If you are retired or nearing retirement, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. There is no cost and no obligation, and dinner is on us. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial professionals specializing in retirement planning and serving all of northern Michigan, with offices in Traverse City, Gaylord, Petoskey, and Cadillac. Our presentation will address important topics such as inflation isn't dead yet. How are you protecting your retirement income? Could the looming Social Security shortfall change the course of your retirement? How potential tax changes could affect your retirement income? What impact will the administration changes have on your retirement? Smart estate planning to minimize taxation, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 or register online and choose the date and location that works best for you. Wednesday, May 7th at Soralina in Traverse City. Tuesday, May 13th at the Stafford's Perry Hotel in Petoskey. Wednesday, May 14th at Treetops Hunter's Grill in Gaylord. Wednesday, May 14th at the David L. Eisler Center in Ferris State University in Big Rapids. Thursday, May 15th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Or Tuesday, May 20th at the Bluefish Kitchen and Bar in Manistee. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or register online to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important live event to help you plan to retire well.
Over the years of working as a financial advisor, I've come to find that a lot of retirees have a very common goal in retirement, outside of, not running out of money. And that common goal is they want to make a big purchase in retirement. And rightfully so, right? You've worked 30 to 40 years of your life, stashed away this big pot of money, and you kind of want to splurge a little bit once you get to retirement. And I've seen it all probably at this point, want to buy the truck, the car, the boat. side-by-sides, putting up a new pole barn, or on the larger scale, buying that beach house down in Florida, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Let's make it happen. But when a client or a prospective client comes to me and has that question, can I afford this? I want to talk about the steps that we're going to take to see if that's feasible for you, and the things we as financial advisors are looking out for in your case to make sure that we can make that big purchase happen for you. So the first thing that we're going to look at is, what is your withdrawal rate? Okay, so the golden withdrawal rule is 4%. Okay, and that basically says that, hey, you shouldn't pull more than 4% from your portfolio on an annual basis, and if you do that, your retirement funds should last throughout retirement. So let's say that you got a portfolio valued at $500,000, okay? And you're one where you've got a bunch of toys and you want to take care of those toys, protect them during these northern Michigan winters, and you want to buy or put up a $100,000 pole barn. It's not some little shed, it's a full-blown pole barn. So we're spending $100,000 to do that. Now, okay, that $500,000 that you have saved for retirement, that turns into $400,000 real quick, okay? So if we use that 4% withdrawal rule, which states, hey, don't pull more than 4%, on $400,000, that is $16,000 a year. Can you make that work? Or do you need that full $500,000 and a $20,000 distribution annually to benefit your retirement? Okay, that's the question there. Now, maybe it's one where that doesn't bother you. You're fine with having $4,000 less of income annually from your portfolio, so let's put up the pole barn, okay? So, hey, if it works, let's go. Let's continue on. What else are we looking at as a financial advisor? Well, the next step is, well, what are the tax implications of doing that, right? Most people, what we have found, have about 90% of their portfolio in pre-tax money. So if they take out $100,000 to build that pole barn, that's all taxable. How does that affect your tax situation? One of the neat things about Centennial here is that we have an enrolled agent with the IRS on staff. So he does tax planning. Okay, so we'll do tax projections. We'll say, yeah, if we take out $100,000 in 1 year, this is what your tax implications will be by doing that. Maybe it makes more sense to spread that out over 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Okay, another thing that we're going to be looking at is health insurance. Okay, so maybe you're one year where you retired under the age of 65 and you're on marketplace insurance. Well, if you want to put up that pole barn, take out $100,000 and add that to your income, guess what? That's going to affect your health insurance as well, okay? Because marketplace insurance, it's all income based. So adding that income will reduce your subsidy and make your marketplace insurance premium skyrocket. Okay, so those are all the things that we here at Centennial Wealth Advisory are looking at. Okay, is your advisor that you're currently with, are they covering that? Are they going over income planning, tax planning, health insurance planning? Or are you right now kind of playing quarterback where, hey, I want to make this big purchase, I want to take out $100,000, my financial advisor says it's okay, but let me call my accountant. Oh, well, I didn't even know I needed to call my health insurance professional. Let me call him and see how that's going to affect that game as well. Here at Centennial, we cover all of that. We have that holistic approach to retirement planning. It's not just investments. We cover income planning, tax planning, estate planning, and health insurance planning. So let us be your quarterback. Let us help you make that big purchase in retirement. Don't hesitate to schedule a free, no obligation consultation, and let us help you plan to retire well.
Let us help you guard your golden years in an effort to turn your retirement dreams into reality. Learn about proven strategies to help you combat the impact of falling interest rates and explore attractive alternatives. Simply go to send-wealth.com. Scroll down and click the link Helping to Guard Your Golden Years to receive your free copy of our valuable and informative white paper, Helping to Guard Your Golden Years.
Living life isn't always easy.
It puts up challenges and obstacles you'll have to overcome. There are responsibilities. You put in effort to provide and take care of your family, to save and invest, to balance work and life. Planning is the first step to succeeding. Plan to retire well.
Thank you for spending some time today and joining us here on Retiring Well and investing in your financial education so you can plan to retire well. You know, we're now coming up on about halfway through our 14th year of recording Retiring Well. And it's been a great journey and looking for another 14 or more years with this as well. And so hopefully you're enjoying this financial content. Jack Klunder on our team out of our Cadillac office has said a saying years ago that stuck with me, and he says, you know, his goal is to learn something new and give it away. You know, he has a teaching background, a teaching heart, and that always stuck with me as that. And so today on Coffee Talk here, John and I are going to be talking about giving something to you, giving something away. And oftentimes we put together in conjunction with partnerships that we have, information that is easily consumable and just really top of mind stuff, right, John?
Yeah, so true, Art, and that's where basically today's topic is helping to guard your golden years, and that's something that is so vital, and especially when you consider, first thing that I think of is the interest rate impact and how significant that can be over 20, 30 years of retirement, and if you aren't planning ahead, what impact that'll have on you over that time frame. Along with that comes in Social Security. That's one of those areas that I think people are concerned about, but they don't really know what the action step is and how to approach it.
Absolutely. You know, on the show here, oftentimes we offer chances for you to come in and visit with us, and we'd love for you to do that. Please, you know, if it ever comes, if timing is right for you and you have questions, that's what we're here for. That's you know, sitting down with folks in Northern Michigan and beyond, helping them plan for their retirement. But maybe you're not somebody yet that's just not ready to take that step. You know, so we offer right available on our website, send-wealth.com. You can visit our website and download this free booklet here about helping guarding your golden years and talking about all this great information that is really neat. It's really well put together and gives you a great outline with that of talking about Social Security, interest rate, you know, getting into diversification of investments. You know, when you're working and you're putting money away and not touching that, your investment philosophy might be a little different. You know, and then you get that fundamental change and you head off into retirement. What does that look like? How do you start to do these things? You know, so the process is really easy. Send-wealth.com. The downloadable report there is just a little bit of information to get in so we know where to get electronically send that off to for you. And now you have this in your hands, and you know that information is power.
And the thing I like that this offers is it's a fairly short read. It's not something that you're going to have to spend, you know, the next several months reading, but it might be something that would provide some valuable tools for you to start thinking about what are those next steps that you need to make within your retirement plan. So maybe you're 5-10 years away from retirement and trying to figure out, hey, what are those questions that I need to start thinking about, and maybe asking your current financial advisor, or quite honestly, maybe it's time to go out and start interviewing a financial advisor. Or are you already in retirement and having maybe some second guesses about what are those things that you're currently doing, and have you considered all the different options? I think one of the topics in here talks about sort of alternative investment ideas. Maybe you're working with an advisor now that is only licensed in one area of retirement planning, and that's where they spend all of their time focusing on that one area. But there may be other alternative investment options out there that have never been considered just simply because your advisor isn't licensed to offer that.
That's a great point, John. So this report we're making available at no cost to you. It's completely free. It's just, again, a downloadable piece. Just need an email address to get this sent off to you, and there's no charge, no commitment to having this for you. Again, knowledge is power. You know, there's so many decisions and so many things to think about when it comes to retirement, and it's retirement planning isn't just your 401k statement. That's not a plan. And if that's all you have at this point and you're 10 years or less away from retirement, it's time to start digging a little bit deeper. I challenge you to make this the time now to get up and take action about this. It's in your hands. At this point, again, your retirement success is solely in your hands so that you can plan to retire well and be able to go through this process. So again, steps are very simple. Cen-wealth.com. Hop on our website, explore the site there. Right on there, there's a spot here where you can go on, put in your information and download this report. It gets sent off to you almost instantaneously. And like John said, it's a very easy read, and I think you'd find it very valuable to spend a little bit of time and do this so you can plan to retire well.
You've worked hard. Plan to retire well. The success of your retirement depends on a sound plan. If you are retired or nearing retirement, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. There is no cost and no obligation, and dinner is on us. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial professionals specializing in retirement planning and serving all of northern Michigan, with offices in Traverse City, Gaylord, Petoskey, and Cadillac. Our presentation will address important topics such as inflation isn't dead yet. How are you protecting your retirement income? Could the looming Social Security shortfall change the course of your retirement? How potential tax changes could affect your retirement income? What impact will the administration changes have on your retirement? Smart estate planning to minimize taxation, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 or register online and choose the date and location that works best for you. Wednesday, May 7th at Soralina in Traverse City. Tuesday, May 13th at the Stafford's Perry Hotel in Petoskey. Wednesday, May 14th at Treetops Hunter's Grill in Gaylord. Wednesday, May 14th at the David L. Eisler Center in Ferris State University in Big Rapids. Thursday, May 15th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Or Tuesday, May 20th at the Bluefish Kitchen and Bar in Manistee. The live event starts at 6:30 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or register online to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important live event to help you plan to retire well.
Let us help you guard your golden years in an effort to turn your retirement dreams into reality. Learn about proven strategies to help you combat the impact of falling interest rates and explore attractive alternatives. Simply go to cen-wealth.com. Scroll down and click the link Helping to Guard Your Golden Years to receive your free copy of our valuable and informative white paper, Helping to Guard Your Golden Years.
If you like watching Retiring Well, make sure to go to youtube.com/retiringwell and click the subscribe button to never miss any of our TV shows and other informative videos.
Going into 2025, there's going to be some new rules for inherited IRAs. And just like we've seen before, it's still somewhat of a mess and still unclear on how some of this stuff is going to play out. So if you've inherited an IRA, so think pre-tax accounts, this could be a 401k, 403b, or a 457b, anytime since 2020 or on, there's going to be some new rules that we need to be aware about that could start to impact having to take annual distributions out of these accounts. Now, this isn't for everybody. This is only going to be for some heirs. So I'd strongly encourage you to start working with a tax professional or financial planning team to make sure you're following these new rules and you're not leaving yourself open to any sort of additional tax or impacting your health insurance plan or leaving yourself open to penalties by the IRS. So if we take a step back to 2019, there was the first Secure Act that was passed. This changed the rules on not only our RMDs, but this also changed the rules on how inherited accounts are going to work. There's always been this RMD rule, this stretch RMD, so required minimum distributions that we've had to be worried about. Well, now what we also added into the mix was this 10-year rule. Well, since then, over the last few years, there's been a lot of unclear information as far as how these two rules work together. So what we found last year in 2024 over the summer, the IRS released some final guidance to us on how these two rules now work together. Again, tax planning is going to be key because these rules, well, as you may or may not know, they're very convoluted and there's a lot of still information coming out. And again, how this can impact you is going to be very dependent on your financial situation. But we'll start to talk through today just some of the basics and some of the kind of bigger picture information, if you will. So what if you inherited an IRA kind of pre-2020? Well, really nothing's changed for you. You still fall under these stretch RMD rules, and the new rules don't really apply. So kind of everything you've been doing, you're grandfathered in, and you can just continue to do that. Well, now if I inherit an IRA, though, 2020 or on, now this is when we kind of get into the weeds a little bit. So let's say I inherited an IRA from my spouse. New rules don't really apply to you. You can still do those stretch RMDs. A spouse is what's considered an eligible designated beneficiary. That's a key term that applies to individuals other than just spouses. This could be minor children, someone that's been disabled. These rules, though, is where you're going to want to dig into it a little bit to see if you qualify. The key here is that status is determined at the date of death. So as an example, if you inherited an IRA from somebody and you were, say not disabled when you inherited that account, well, if you're disabled now, too bad, you have to follow the old rules, assuming you were still a non-eligible designated beneficiary. So a little unclear there as far as who can fall into those categories. Again, we're best to work with a tax planning professional and make sure you're not taking distributions if you don't need to. So now if you inherited an IRA from someone who hasn't started taking RMDs and you're a non-designated beneficiary, what we need to be thinking about now is we have this 10-year rule. So what's important to know about this 10-year rule is this really starts the date of death. We've had this grace period over the last few years. This grace period does not impact the 10-year rule. You don't have to start taking annual distributions. It's not mandatory for these types of situations, but you do still have to get that money out within a 10-year period. So again, these are all pre-tax accounts. This money's growing tax deferred. You may want to start taking that money out sooner just so it's not such a big tax hit later. Again, your personal situation is going to dictate the distribution plan, but there's really not a big change here other than just a reminder that 10-year rule is still in effect and is still counting down. Now, let's say though you inherited this IRA, you're still a non-designated beneficiary. This person was taking an RMD. In this situation, you're going to need to start taking money out in 2025. You're going to have to start taking this required minimum distribution, and you still have that 10-year rule that started again, date of death. This is the big change that came into effect. The IRS is now saying it's not an and or, it's a both. You have to be doing this required minimum distribution. You'll need to do one prior to December 31st of this year. This is going to be a pre-tax distribution. Again, this is money that's going to go on your tax return. If you're doing conversions, have a health insurance plan in place, these things are going to be impacted by these new rule changes. Again, encourage you to reach out to a tax professional or a team like we have at Centennial Wealth Advisory to figure out what's the right amount to be pulling out. Is this going to impact other things that you're already doing on your tax return? Then the last thing we'll talk about is Roth accounts. So Roths is you don't need to have that annual distribution, but you do still need to be aware of that 10-year rule. And the big thing here is you're not able to convert those inherited accounts to Roth IRAs. So again, big picture, big changes coming to these different plans. We need to be aware of that. We need to be thinking about how is this going to impact our tax situation throughout the course of 2025 and going forward.